On the world stage, appearances are everything. And in September of 2025, the world witnessed a piece of political theater that was carefully designed to send a message. The leaders of more than 20 nations gathered in Tianjin, China for a meeting of something called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. You see, this group is quietly becoming one of the most powerful organizations on the planet. Its members control 80% of the land in Europe and Asia and have a combined population of over 3.5 billion people. That's bigger than the G7, NATO, or the European Union combined. But the most shocking moment came when Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, and India's leader, Narendra Modi, were seen shaking hands. Then, in a perfectly staged move, they turned together and walked directly to China's President Xi Jinping. The three of them stood in a tight circle, a clear symbol of unity. To put it mildly, this image was a direct challenge to the United States and its allies. The message was simple. A new power has arrived, and it doesn't plan on playing by America's rules. Here's the kicker. This alliance is really a consensus of the aggrieved. They are all united by a shared feeling that the U.S. has been calling the shots for too long. Their official statements talk about fighting against a Cold War mentality and what they call unilateral coercive measures. That's just code for American sanctions and tariffs. But what many people overlook is that this powerful new bloc is built on a foundation of sand. Its key members are not friends. In fact, they are historic rivals with a deep mistrust for one another. So what could possibly be strong enough to bring them all together? As it turns out, it was the actions of the United States itself. But this alliance has a junior partner, a former superpower so backed into a corner it had no other choice. To understand this new alliance, you have to look at Russia. After its actions in Ukraine, the Western world hit Moscow with a financial storm unlike anything seen in modern history. We're talking about more than 16,000 individual sanctions. Over $400 billion of its money was frozen in foreign banks. Its biggest banks were cut off from the global financial system. The goal was to cripple Russia's economy and stop its war machine in its tracks. For a while, it seemed to be working. Russia was cut off from Europe, which had always been its biggest and best customer for oil and gas. But here's where the story takes a turn. Instead of collapsing, Russia did something desperate. It turned east. This wasn't a choice. It was about survival. And China was waiting with open arms. Bilateral trade between the two countries exploded, hitting a record $240 billion. Today, nearly 80% of the oil Russia sends out on ships goes to just two countries, China and India. But it gets even more serious. China became Russia's lifeline for technology. The thing is, modern weapons need advanced microchips and electronics, and the West had cut off Russia's supply. So China stepped in. It started sending a steady stream of what are called dual-use goods. These are things like machine tools and high-tech materials that can be used for normal products but are also perfect for making drones, missiles, and tanks. Without China, Russia's military would have ground to a halt. Truth be told, this has created a completely one-sided partnership. For Russia, China is its most important lifeline. But for China, Russia is just a very important junior partner. Russia's entire trade with China is only about 3% of China's total trade with the world. Beijing is in the driver's seat, and they know it. But while Russia was a predictable partner in this anti-American club, the other major player was a complete shock, because it was a country the U.S. thought it had on its side. Just a few years ago, the relationship between the United States and India looked like the future. The leaders of both countries held huge mega rallies. First, there was Howdy Modi in Texas with 50,000 people. Then came Namaste Trump in India with over 100,000 attendees. It was a celebration of the world's two biggest democracies, and it seemed like a natural alliance to balance out China's power in Asia. India is even a key member of the Quad, a security group with the US, Japan, and Australia. But then everything changed. The US government hit India with a massive 50% tariff on its goods. This was a huge blow to the Indian economy. It hurt the country's biggest industries like textiles and jewelry, which employ millions of people. Foreign investors started pulling their money out and the Indian currency, the rupee, fell to record lows. So why did this happen? The official reason was twofold. Half of the tariff was to fix a trade deficit, but the other half was punishment. It was a penalty because India had started buying massive amounts of discounted oil from Russia. You see, for India, a country of 1.4 billion people, cheap energy is a matter of national survival. It helps keep prices down for everyone, but the US saw it as a betrayal. This put India in an impossible position. It was being economically punished by its partner for making a smart economic decision. So India did what any country would do. It started looking for other options and leaned even harder into its relationship with Russia. Bilateral trade surged to nearly $70 billion a year, almost all of it from India buying Russian oil. This is how the United States, through its own actions, pushed a nation of over 1 billion people closer to its adversaries. India now walks a tightrope, balancing its role in the American-led Quad with its membership in the China-led SCO. It's playing a dangerous game called multi-alignment. But there's one massive problem that stops this new bloc from becoming a true global superpower. A deep-seated hatred between two of its members that goes back decades. Trust me, you'll want to hear this one. While Russia is fighting for survival and India is walking a tightrope, China is playing a different game entirely. It's playing the long game, patiently building a new world order with itself at the center. And it has two powerful tools to do it: the SCO and something called the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. Think of it like this. The SCO is the political software. It brings all these countries together under one roof, gives them a reason to cooperate, and provides security to protect their projects. The Belt and Road Initiative is the hardware. It's the most ambitious infrastructure project in human history. We're talking about a network of new ports, high-speed railways, and pipelines that physically connect all of Asia, Europe, and Africa back to Beijing. And here's how China uses these two tools together. Almost every country in the SCO, except for India, has signed up to be part of the BRI. This allows China to use the political cover of the SCO to push forward its massive economic projects. For example, China is funding a new railway that will run from its western border through Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. This will create a direct land bridge to the Middle East and Europe, but more importantly, it completely bypasses Russia, giving China its own strategic trade route. But China's plan goes even further than just roads and railways. It's now pushing to create an SCO development bank. This would be a direct competitor to the World Bank and the IMF, which are dominated by the United States. They are also pushing for all these countries to trade with each other using their own currencies, the ruble, the rupee, and the Chinese yuan. This is a direct attack on the most powerful tool the U.S. has: the dominance of the dollar. China is slowly and methodically building a parallel system, one where it makes the rules and its currency is king. So, with this massive plan already in motion, what can the United States possibly do to stop it? The hard truth is that the biggest challenge facing the United States right now is a problem we helped create. For years, the strategy was to swing a giant hammer, hitting any country we disagreed with massive tariffs and sanctions. But truth be told, that plan has backfired, and badly. All it did was push a cornered Russia straight into the arms of China, creating a powerful partnership we now have to face. At the same time, it made a potential friend like India nervous, forcing them to keep their options open. Here's the thing you have to understand. This isn't the old Cold War. There's no new military alliance like the Warsaw Pact getting ready for battle. This is a quieter, more complicated fight. A competition fought with money, infrastructure, and trade deals, not tanks. So how in the world do you win a fight like that? Well, the first step is to stop treating every country like they're the same nail. The U.S. needs to get smart and use a wedge strategy designed to carefully pull potential partners away from that core Russia-China bloc. And the number one priority on that list has to be India. This means we have to change our approach. We need to get rid of the punishing tariffs and accept a simple fact. India is always going to do what's best for India. The goal isn't to force them to pick a side in a fight. The goal is to become the more attractive partner, the better deal they can't refuse. But that's just the start. You can't beat something with nothing. Next, the United States has to get back in the game that China has been dominating for years, building things. China has its Belt and Road Initiative, where it builds ports, railways, and bridges all over the world. We need to offer a better alternative. That means funding high-quality projects that are actually good for the countries we partner with, projects that are transparent and don't leave them drowning in debt to Beijing. It also means making our own alliances, like the Quad with Japan, Australia, and India, about more than just military exercises. They need to deliver real economic wins, like helping create new supply chains for essential goods that don't run through China. The era of one single country calling all the shots is probably over. The world is changing, and the real challenge for America isn't to stop it, but to help shape what this new world looks like. And here's the secret weapon. The partnership between China, Russia, and India has a fatal flaw. The deep, bitter rivalry between India and China over their shared border is an iron ceiling that stops them from ever becoming a true, unified team. This is where the opportunity lies. The future won't be decided in a single battle, but in a long, patient competition of influence. A contest to see which system can offer the world a better path forward. The world is shifting before our eyes, and this story is just beginning. Don't miss what's coming next. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with us for the truth ahead.